On a freezing December morning in 1811, residents along the Mississippi River witnessed something that would haunt them for generations. The river flowed backwards, not for minutes, for hours. Steamboats snapped from their moorings. Entire islands vanished beneath churning water. People described a sound like the earth tearing open. For decades, school books called it a natural disaster, the Great New Madrid Earthquake. But forgotten in the margins of old journals and military dispatches lies another deeper truth. The earthquake nearly broke the United States in half, and a handful of frontiersmen, scientists, native leaders, and soldiers prevented the disaster from becoming national collapse. This is the story America forgot. A story of courage, espionage, sacrifice, and a war no one expected to fight. The Tremor Before the Storm, Fall 1811. The western frontier was already unstable. Tensions with the British were rising. Shawnee leader Tecumseh was uniting tribes with a vision of independence. American settlers pushed deeper into tribal lands. Frontier forts were thinly manned, underfunded, and unprepared. Then, the animals began fleeing. A Tennessee hunter named Reed Watkins recorded in his diary, "Deer, wolves, and even the bears fled eastward in numbers I have never seen. They ignored hunters. Something frightened them more than we ever could." Native elders warned that the land was breathing wrong, but American officials ignored the signs. Until December 16, 1811, 2:15 a.m. The earth shatters. It began with a roar deep underground. Eyewitnesses described fences twisting like rope, massive cracks opening across the ground, church bells ringing hundreds of miles away, sand volcanoes erupting from the soil, forests collapsing in waves. The Mississippi River shook so violently that boats were launched onto the shoreline. A traveler named John Bradbury wrote, "I felt the river rise beneath me like a living creature." Settlements across Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Tennessee were destroyed. Yet this was only the first of 3 massive quakes. 2 more would come in the following months. The U.S. government feared the frontier would break away, and foreign powers, especially Britain, would seize the chaos. So they launched a mission, one almost nobody remembers: the Hidden Expedition. President James Madison authorized a rapid response expedition under a young engineer and Army officer whose name would be famous later, Captain William Clark. Yes, that's the William Clark of Lewis and Clark, called back into service. Clark was ordered to assess the damage, re-establish contact with frontier settlements, meet with tribal leaders, prevent British exploitation, and map the newly altered terrain. But he wasn't alone. The team included Marie Dorion, an Iowa woman fluent in tribal dialects, Solomon Tuttle, a frontier blacksmith who understood river mechanics, Dr. Ferdinand Beauregard, a French geologist studying unusual magnetic shifts, Private Elijah Turner, an escaped enslaved man turned scout, and Elias Thompson, a young cartographer. Together, they formed what later records called the Mississippi Stabilization Expedition. Their job wasn't just survival, it was holding a nation together while the ground literally tore itself apart. Chapter 4: The Alliance That Should Not Have Worked. One of the most surprising outcomes of the expedition was an unlikely partnership between Captain Clark and a Shawnee war captain named Bluesnake, a respected leader under Tecumseh. Tecumseh had previously warned, "The earth will show you its anger." Now his followers believed the quake was a sign of the Great Spirit. Clark, realizing the U.S. could not manage the frontier alone, negotiated a temporary ceasefire. Bluesnake agreed to help guide the expedition through shattered lands, under one condition: the Americans must protect Native families displaced by the disaster. It was a humanitarian pact and one of the few moments of real cooperation during a violent era. Together, they navigated lands sinking into marshes, new lakes forming overnight, buffalo herds scattering, cracked riverbeds swallowing entire wagons, and roving bands of opportunists and river pirates. Their partnership kept thousands alive. The Night of the Silent Thunder. January 23, 1812. Just before dawn, the expedition encountered the second massive earthquake. This time, journals describe something even stranger. No sound before the quake. Animals did not flee. The air felt heavy, unmoving. Then, the ground lifted. Trees toppled in every direction. A ridge collapsed and created what we now call Reelfoot Lake in a matter of minutes. Captain Clark wrote, "The earth rose and fell like the breath of a sleeping giant."